Folks, I love movies. I love physical media. Now is the most important time, I think, in our history of being connoisseurs of film, lovers of, of the medium and everything else, to dive in and start collecting. But it also requires us, I think, to really take a good long look at the world around us, whether it is streaming or physical media collecting and all of that stuff, and realize that we probably all need to reevaluate how we do things and understand that FOMO is a real problem and one that needs to be addressed, obviously. But I don't want to start off with the negative. Let me talk about physical media and why I love it. There is something beautiful about holding something in your hand tangibly and looking at it and then understanding that you own it. You can watch it when you want. It's always there for you. It never will go away. And there's no one that can take that from you. It's a great feeling, especially in the digital age. And I say this as a proponent of digital technology. I love technology. I love streaming services. I love having all of that at my fingertips. I do. But there is that constant EULA, end user license agreement, little thing in the back of my mind about how I don't actually own this content. Now, on streaming, obviously, you're paying access for a library. But what I'm talking about is like when I buy a new movie and I open it up and inside there's the 4K UHD, the Blu-ray, potentially the DVD in some of those cases, and a digital code like to Movies Anywhere. That code is not forever. That code has an expiration date. That license that Movies Anywhere pays for the ability to stream that content has an expiration date. And if Movies Anywhere decides, nah, I don't want to do this anymore, then people are going to lose access to that content that they have paid for. And therein lies the problem with that. We already know that. That's nothing new. I'm not telling you anything new that you don't already know. But that on top of the fact that streaming services will remove content without giving it to us on physical media and without giving us another way to obtain the content legally for preservation's sake, as well as our own interest in watching the content, watching the movie or the TV show or whatever. We are in a place now where it feels like we are up against a conglomerate that simply doesn't care about the little guy, doesn't care about the consumer, and just wants to pump and dump as much as humanly possible. And I've talked about this on my Substack. This subject matter about physical media is an article I wrote the other day. I have another article up today about how we can't really rely, that we have to be the ambassadors of content, of talking about movies, that we can't just go, why does no one talk about this stuff anymore? But that's a whole other subject of conversation I want to get into later on. But check out the Substack, podioCommentary.substack.com. It's free. Anyway, the idea here with these companies being able to pull the content for tax purposes or because they don't want to pay their creatives does do a disservice to not only the creatives, to be fair, but the consumers. And the consumers are the ones that pay the bills for those companies. We're the ones that put out our cold, hard-earned cash in order to be able to have the joy of the entertainment that we are consuming. And as we get into the age of convenience more and more and more and more and more, it becomes clearer more and more and more and more and more that we now have to take it upon ourselves to make sure that this stuff lives on. But the problem with that is that even that has become a little bit predatory recently. And I say this because we've noticed that like Target has gotten rid of their physical media department for the most part. Best Buy completely got rid of movies. I mean, I don't think Best Buy is going to live longer than a few years anyway at this rate. But you've got that. You've got Walmart being like the only game in town. And a lot of the stuff they do is just steelbooks, which are not something that I want all the time. I'm not a big steelbook guy. I really don't care a lot about steelbooks. I just want to own the movie. And I'm not really given the option of owning the movie in that capacity, which does suck. But that's like pretty much one of the only things we can do now outside of thrifting. or going to like, half price books or something along those lines. And don't get me wrong, I do that and I love it. And as I'm looking through those movies, as I'm perusing those shelves, I'm looking for things that jump out at me, movies that I love that I want to give a good home to. And I love it when I'm able to find something that in my mind comes across as rare, something I haven't seen in a while. And I want to take it and I want to take it home and I want to protect it. And then of course, I keep doing that and I keep doing that and I keep doing that because I do love the feeling of buying these movies. There is that dopamine hit that I get for obtaining the physical media. And I understand that it can be a problem for not only me, but for a lot of other people as well, which is why, even though it is more important than ever to pay attention to physical media and embrace it and engage with it, we also have to make sure that we are living within our means. And that's another part of this whole collector space that I've noticed. It's a weird situation to kind of look at some of these content creators out there that have gone into $26,000 in debt over 4 years buying physical media. That's happened. I'm not going to say who it is, but if you know, you know. And there's other people out there who work deals with the physical media companies, Lionsgate, Warner Brothers, Disney, whomever, and they get sent the new movies every week to review. And those people are effectively salesmen for that product, and that's fine too. But then you've got these boutiques, and these boutiques are great. I love the boutiques. They put out some great content. But there are people out there that kind of live by this idea that they have to absolutely buy every single thing that comes out from these boutiques as if it's like the word of God. And they get themselves in this tremendous amount of debt, and they buy these movies that they don't even want or they've never even seen or that they don't even like, but they do it because they feel this compulsion because of FOMO. And that is a big problem about physical media. And I think that's a downside to it that we do have to talk about. There is a lot of movies out there that we love. If you're like me, you've seen probably a couple thousand movies and you love a bunch of them. They speak to us from when we were kids, when life seemed simpler. We'd like to go back to that. We like to go back and remember those things. And if you are an elder millennial, or in my case, what would be known as like a zennial, kind of like end Gen Z, early millennial stuff, then you know firsthand what those movies were like back from the 80s and 90s and everything else. And so if you see Arrow or Vinegar Syndrome or Severin or Kino Lorber or whomever, and they go like, hey, we got this old movie from your childhood, it's like you're going to drop a shitload of money on that movie because it speaks to your childhood and you want to have it. Umbrella had this like $100 Super Mario Brothers 93 set that I didn't have the money to buy when it came out. Believe me, I got the FOMO. I'm going to get it eventually, but I don't know if I want to get the set or if I just want to get the movie. I think I'd be happy with just the movie because like even the other day, like I saw that Vinegar Syndrome did a VSU box set of Cloak and Dagger, one of my favorite films from when I was a kid. I went on Amazon. I found the 4K of it for $24. So I bought the 4K of it for $24. I don't need the VSU set, but there are people out there that I watch that like have this need to collect every Vinegar Syndrome box set that comes out, every VSU set that comes out. And they do this and then they don't even like the movie. And they'll talk about like, oh, I bought it. I thought and then they get kind of stuck with it. And I think that ends up being like a big problem because look, the thing is, what sucks though, is we no longer have the video store to go to. We no longer are going to peruse the shelves of Blockbuster, peruse the shelves of Hollywood Video or any mom and pop video store that we grew up with. Those days are gone. We still have a desire and a love to buy movies. And one of the things we have to kind of consider is that these movies are out there for us to get. But oftentimes we buy them by surfing Amazon or maybe Diabolic DVD, or Orbit DVD, which are places that I like. And we find something, and that instant gratification, dopamine seeking part of our brain will go click on it, buy now, click on it, buy now. And that can be a problem for people out there, especially if you don't have the money and you want to just kind of keep up with the Joneses or whatever. Movies definitely evoke emotion. They definitely evoke a lot of love and joy and memories of our childhood and things like that. But even though right now, because everything is happening and it is very important to support physical media, it is also very important to support the physical media that you love, the movies that you love, the shows that you love, that you are going to give a good home to. you got to kind of think of it more of like, this is almost like adopting a pet, right? You don't want it left out on the side of the road. You want to give it a good home, but you also got to make sure that, like, it's going to be a good fit. And if you have to skip over something, it's okay to skip over something. If you want to wait for a sale because a studio release 4K is still $40 and you want to wait for it to drop down, it will eventually drop down. Groove does sales all the time. Amazon just got me the other day for a 3 for $33, and they just got me. And it's like, right? But I'm glad that I own it. But when I buy them and I get all these movies, and I think a lot of you might feel the same way, it does become sometimes overwhelming. And so while it's important, we also have to know our limitations and we have to understand our limitations. And that's kind of what this video is. Just a reminder that love what you love, share what you love, be that ambassador for what you love, but also like make sure you love it and make sure that when you buy it on physical media, you're doing it because you want it and not because you feel a compulsion to collect them all. These are movies. They're not Pokemon, albeit depending on who you talk to, the two could kind of still be the same. Anyway, your thoughts on this, let me know. Have yourself a great day, everybody. Thank you again, and peace out.